moving on to our next story, and this one was going to be our main topic until other news dropped today. Uh, the Saw franchise is an interesting one because it's obviously made just a metric ton of money, and it's just one of those things that they keep producing and keep producing and keep making. I think they were going to make Saw 11 before it shut down due to creative differences, but they made 11 films if you include Spiral, which is a garbage movie, and I stand by that. But
Great movie.
no, we can have this fight some other time. But the first Saw movie is something to go down in horror history because it's directed by James Wan. It was one of his first feature films. It was written by Leigh Whannell. You know, that's horror legacy, horror icons right there. And it spawned a franchise that continued for over 20 years. It's crazy stuff. And I like the original Saw film a lot. I have the 4K of it. You know, it's made for nothing. You can just see the blood, sweat, and tears on the screen, the passion bleeding through. And the twist, by the way, if you show Saw to somebody who's never seen it, the twist still works. It still works really, really well. I love
It did
love
for me when
Saw.
I first saw it.
Yeah, you know, it's so great. But we have news about Jigsaw's new home. It is heading over to Blumhouse, because of course it is. Blumhouse has gotten a 50% stake, which is important to point out, a 50% stake in the rights to the Saw franchise. Let's move on in here. Let's see. Yes, they are getting their half of the rights from Twisted Pictures. Lionsgate will keep the other 50% and stay on as the distributor of the films, which I found interesting. Reunites James Wan with his original horror IP because Atomic Monster merged with Blumhouse in 2024. Lionsgate will still be involved and owns 50%. No new Saw movies currently in development, and like we mentioned before, Saw 11 was in development, but then it stalled. Taking this from Deadline, and Jeff Snyder also did a report on this because he got really pissed that the news broke when he was trying to break it. Something that's interesting is apparently, because Jason Blum is notoriously very frugal with money. That's how he kind of keeps making successful horror movies. Apparently, Twisted Pictures wanted $100 million for their half of the rights, and eventually they walked away, and then they came back and got it for about 90. So they were negotiated to 90, and Blumhouse forked it over. But what Jeff Snyder points out that's interesting is apparently, and again, I can't really confirm if this is true, this is just what's being reported. Apparently, James Wan was the one that was like, hey, Jason, let's get it. Let's get it back. I want my baby back. I want it back. Which is exciting to me because I really want James Wan to do more Saw. But the question I wanted to run by you with this, do you think James Wan wants it back to do just a complete reboot? Because, like, what a baller move would it be to create this franchise in the early 2000s that spawns this whole thing, and then instead of taking it and making a legacy sequel or doing whatever, you just make a whole brand new version of it, and it kicks off another one. That would be such a baller move. Or do you think he wants to, you know, team up with Leigh Whannell again, get the boys back in the band, maybe make a sequel only to the original Saw because they didn't direct the other ones? What do you think the plan is for this franchise going forward?
I mean, listen, I'm not going to say no or have any hate for the James Wan directed Saw movie coming out in this day and age. You know, listen, don't get me wrong. I'm still rooting for a Malignant sequel, but if he wants to go make Jaws or Saw, it's fine. I think the more interesting approach that I would think is kind of I would kind of want something maybe more similar to what Sam Raimi is doing with the Evil Dead franchise, where it's like, here, you have the rights, you have the licenses, here's these key elements you have to hit, but you know what? You don't have to worry about Ash, you don't have to worry about it's being all connected to the stuff. Like, go make your Evil Dead movie. Go make your Saw movie, right? Here's kind of
Mm-hmm.
the general premise. You understand the scope, what points have to be hit, but you know, go have fun with it, play around with it. I think that'd be the better approach, and to have James Wan behind the scenes sort of shepherding that scale in the same way Sam Raimi is doing with the Evil Dead.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. I think that'd be an amazing approach to make, as long as, yes, eventually we do get Malignant 2. Thank you for never letting that idea die.
Because I mean, you know, you don't have to have Jigsaw. I know it is
Right.
kind of iconic, right? You just need traps. And, you know, that could be different things too. You could have a serial killer doing it. You could have someone, you know, scorn. There's so many different ways to take it that I
And
think it could be a very interesting approach.
And not only that, if you reboot the whole thing, you can literally just make it completely different if you want.
Yeah.
Like, what I'd be interested in, and I know we may have differing opinions on this, combining my two ideas of what if he brings back Leigh Whannell to write it with him again, and they both just do a completely new take on something they created. Because what's Lee Winnell done? Invisible Man and Wolfman. Now, granted, I loved Invisible Man. I didn't really like Wolfman, but you can argue that both were attempts to just do something wildly different with an incredibly popular historic IP. What if they did it to something that they created? I think it's just a very interesting idea. I think it's an interesting idea.
Well, and maybe that's the thing you do too. Like what I said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Evil Dead, they didn't do something new to establish new precedent, right? So maybe that's them saying, "Here's how we're changing the Saw game. Go."
Yeah.
Like they set that tone, they set that boundary. I think that could be interesting. I don't know how I feel about Lee Winnell's inclusion, mostly because I do not like Invisible Man or Wolfman, but that's for a different time.
To be fair, I also think that Upgrade is fantastic. And I
I
think,
love Upgrade.
yes, and I think that all of his scripts for like Insidious, Insidious 2, and Saw, I think he's a good writer as well. So, we'll have the Invisible Man versus Spiral debate. That should be, honestly, that should be like its own 3-hour episode, is we both watch Invisible Man and Spiral, and then we do a live show where we just fucking argue. For those that don't know, because they came out around the same time, didn't they?
I think so.
So, basically, Invisible Man, I saw it before Nick and our friend Kyler could go see it, and I like raved about how good it was. And I'm like, oh my god, you guys, this is gonna be mind blowing. You're gonna love this. They both hated the film, but then when Spiral came out, I was gonna skip Spiral. But then Nick and Kyler went to go see Spiral, and they texted me and said, yo, you gotta go see Spiral. It's fantastic, blah, blah, blah. And I went in ready to go, and I thought it was pure dog shit. I thought it was such an awful movie. And, them's the breaks. It be like that. But we always just bring that up as like the Invisible Man versus Spiral debate. And I think it's quite funny, to be honest.
I am. They came out about a year and a half apart from each other.
Okay.
So yeah, not too close, but
it's all a blur since 2020.
it was all COVID times. We didn't know what was happening. Movies were bad. It was all a disaster.
Yep. Before we move on to our next news topic, a couple live chats to go through. Samar adds, "What up, y'all? You see Summer Game Fest? I'm gonna finish it back before I ain't gotta. I go. Ain't Mia Goth Blade casted? Shouts out. Thank you, Samar. No, I have not looked at Summer Game Fest, but I do know that it's going on. Very cool. Mia Goth, I believe, is still in Blade. I think she's one of the people who survived all the creative changes, unlike Delroy Lindo, who was cut out, and some other people. If Blade is still even happening at this point, I do believe Mia Goth will be Lilith, I think she was going to play. So we'll see about that. And Calixer joins and gives us a little wave. Thank you, Calixer, as always.
So I just looked up really quick. I'm sorry to go off topic.
No,
I did look
go
up
ahead.
a little something quick about this Summer Game Fest, the
Yeah.
live things.
Uh-huh.
There's a Wu-Tang video game coming out
What?
called Rise of the Deceiver. It looks like it's going to be a Wu-Tang anime gang. It's a co-op action RPG with anime style fighting.
What? That sounds awesome.
Hell yeah. And then just some like Death Stranding 2. I think there's a Jurassic World game, Fortnite updates, Marvel Rival updates, but
Yeah.
Wu-Tang Clan caught my eye.
So, can I be a bitch for a second?
Sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pull up both the audience and critic score Rotten Tomatoes for The Invisible Man and Spiral. We're just going to see how this goes, okay? Invisible Man has a 91% critic rating and an 88% audience rating. That's not bad. That's pretty good. I don't see the average score because 91 just means 91% of the critics thought it was positive. Positive can be anything from, a 6 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. But still, very neat. Spiral, on the other hand, 38% critic, 75% audience. You got a nice audience score there. It's not bad. I think this should be 0. I think it should be lower, personally. No disrespect to the people who made it. I'm sure you worked very hard, but did not like it. Just throwing it out. Just throwing it out,
Well, if you want some other numbers coming at you,
Uh-huh.
if you go to my Letterboxd profile for The Invisible Man, you will see a 1-star rating. And if you look at my
Keep going.
letterbox review for Spiral from the Book of Saw, you will see a 3-star rating. The numbers don't lie. Letterboxed.
Yes, those are the numbers.
You have been lawyered.
You've been lawyered. Do you want to do box office?
I kind of want to say yes, even though I know it's Invisible Man's going to be higher, but I feel like there's a chance.
I actually think it's unfair because Invisible Man happened right before the COVID shutdown and Spiral happened during it. So let's do this. Okay, tell me this. What was the production budget of Spiral versus Invisible Man?
I'm going to go Invisible Man was Blumhouse, so it was probably like 10 million. I'm going to guess Spiral was 25.
Close. So Spiral was 20. Invisible Man was 7.
Ooh.
7 million. Spiral worldwide made Spiral worldwide made $39 million. The Invisible Man worldwide made 139.
Well, there you have it.
But to be fair, Spiral came out in the middle bullshit of COVID. So I'm not going to, as a Spiral hater myself, I'm not going to pin that on Spiral. Okay? That was in the middle of COVID. All right. I think we've bored everyone enough with our fucking
Well, if we're
debate.
going to be throwing numbers around, Megalopolis made 12.
There you go. There you go. Good for Megalopolis, baby. As always.